Hello, if you're just joining us, we're just waiting for people to join. So we're not quite on the hour yet. Perhaps whilst we're waiting, you could let me know in the chat where you're connecting from today. My name is Alex, and I'm based in the West Country of England. It's feeling a bit colder than it has been of late, but fortunately, being near the coast, we've avoided snow and also the flooding. So welcome if you've just joined. My name is Alex, and we're going to be starting the webinar shortly. Just want to give people a few minutes to join. So why don't you let me know where you're from? I'm based in the West Country of England. I was saying it is quite cold here, but we're lucky. We're near the coast, and we've avoided some of the extreme weather events that have affected other parts of the UK. What's it like with you? Please do let me know in the chat. Well, glad you're avoiding the freezing weather, John. Hungary. Okay. Let's make a start. Thank you very much for being on time. So let's share the screen. We'll make a start. So just to make sure that we're in the right place, today we're talking about travel consultancy, specifically how you can get an income. And at the end of today's presentation, you'll have the opportunity to learn more about the academy I run and working with me. And I have a few aims for today. Firstly, I'd like to provide you with much information and guidance as I can to tell you a little bit about the academy I run. And if you've got any questions, please do ask them. I'll either answer them as we go, or I'll save them to the end. So it'd be good to know what it is you do, but I'm most interested in what brought you here today. Please do let me know in the comments. It'd be good to know. Like I say, I'm based in the southwest of England, but the beauty of the internet is that we can be based anywhere in the world. I'm always fascinated by how close we all are now and how the internet joins us all together. So one of the things, or some of the things I get asked is about what works and what doesn't. And there are several reasons in the main why people do struggle. Firstly, going for trip-only customers, using one or two sets of tools instead of using everything available, assuming technologies can do the work. Perhaps it's how much of the travel market you need to know about. Or is it trying to be the master of all? Which one of these resonates with you the most? Let me know in the comments. 1 to 5. Perhaps it's more than one reason. Be good to know your reflections on this. And it's good, yes, we have a 5. And it's good to know this because I'm going to be covering all 5 of these, which I've split into 3 parts. And I've called this, and it's all to do with travel consultancy. I'll be sharing information on strategy, how you might optimize, and what the journey of a travel consultant might be like. So who am I? Well, I'm the founder and visionary of the 7-Figure Traveller, and my commitment is to ensure that your travel passion becomes a thriving venture. And the years I've spent learning and gaining experience and insight is part of my goal, which is to give you practical knowledge and strategies. So whether you are just starting out or whether you are thriving for a successful travel consultancy. Now, over the many decades I've been traveling, it's been a privilege to explore our world. It's obviously very extensive and diverse. I've found challenges, but there are also hidden gems. But the most important thing I've discovered is that you can still turn what you know into a profitable venture. And the wealth of real-world knowledge and experience I have and business insight, I can give you practical advice so that you can build a sustainable business. Now, at first glance, it can seem unrelated having a background in IT and sport, but it's given me a unique perspective on travel, plus an understanding of the importance of effective planning and using the right technology. It's because every detail matters, and I'm going to show you how you can leverage these skills. And part of honing what works and what doesn't work, I've realized that it's often the voice of the traveler that's often unheard. Therefore, my mission is to change and amplify your unique voice and experience so that together we can bring the best version of you, whether you're seeking personal fulfillment or you're building a travel consultancy you wish to be proud of. How does that sound? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. So why is now the right time to be talking about this? Well, obviously there's been pandemics and lockdowns, and throughout these lockdowns, I just kept meeting people who had what can only be described as pent-up desire, a bit like an old-fashioned kettle that had no control. When it started boiling, it would steam up and fill the whole kitchen and sometimes the house. And this is a bit like how people have been feeling in lockdowns. And because this desire has been so strong, it means it's still a great time to be monetizing in the travel space. And thus, not to take any action is the equivalent of missing out altogether. Now, sure, you can wait till another time, but when's it going to be like this again? It's a bit like the story of the tree. When was the best time to plant a tree? Well, it was 20 years ago. And when's the next time? Well, it's now. But maybe you're not thinking about that. Maybe you just want to know how much more you can make out of a travel consultancy. Well, it depends, because it depends on how much effort you're willing to put in, how much time you've got, and whether you're willing to invest in yourself. Because in 6 to 9 months, you can be making good money out of this. Now, it's true that there are opportunities all around, but maybe you're thinking the environment is competitive. But what if all you had to do was to differentiate? Wouldn't that make a difference? But isn't the economy uncertain? But what if you could create a stable income, one that provided you with financial security? Isn't that a good reason? Right now, I'm being told that travelers are being underserved, and it's kind of linked to what happened during lockdowns. Businesses were forced to go into a thing called furlough. At least that was what it was called in the United Kingdom. And as a result, businesses became invisible. But instead of this being reversed, they stayed behind their technology. And as far as travelers I speak to are concerned, they are remaining invisible, and a perspective of overly using their technology, almost like being disconnected. Now, if you look at these aeroplanes, this is a picture from Heathrow. I mean, clearly, aeroplanes are full of a lot of technology, but they've still got pilots. They still have staff on them serving passengers. You still need to load and offload food and luggage. You still need to refuel planes. And it's a great example, an airport, of the balance between people and technology. But it seems this has not been, it's not currently the case for travelers. And this is why it's, a great opportunity being a travel consultant. So let's have a look at some strategy. Now, strategy can be split into 3 areas, because there are these few areas are areas in which people are sometimes unclear on. It's having a well-defined structure. It's how to navigate complex roadmaps. It's having a strong support system that can act as a guide, because without it, it's like being cast adrift, unsure how to build a business. So let's look at these in a bit more detail. So what do we mean by having a clear structure? Well, it means having goals and objectives, the what and the why. It's about making choices about your target market, because it's a bit like missing out if you don't have them. You can miss out on your unique value and your growth opportunities. And without them, you can have feelings of being overwhelmed and wondering how to grow your business. Now, it's not the only way to structure a business, because when you wish to grow or develop a business, you're obviously going to be looking for more people, and you need to know where these people are going to come from. Now, it doesn't mean you have to go into enormous amounts of detail, but not leaving things to chance is also something to bear in mind. Now, when I was working together with John, he had no idea where to begin. He knew he loved travel, but he was unsure how to turn his passion into a direction. And the main thing he was struggling with was asking the right questions. So when we worked together, I helped him frame these questions. I call this asking and listening. And essentially, it's building relationships through conversation. And if you ever struggle beginning conversations, I always start by thinking of the 3 W's and the H, the what, the when, the where, and the how. So let's look at a few examples. If you have clients, you were sending them on a tennis group holiday and they like resorts, but they don't like the taxi rides, you might ask them the resorts they wish to go to. But if you want to tease out the taxi rides, you also need to be asking about the important facilities they need. If you have clients who love small islands but are not great on small planes, you might ask them when they want to go. But if you want to ensure they have a smooth ride, you also need to be asking about the travel aspects they'd rather avoid. Now, who doesn't love or have favorite brands? You might ask your clients what chains they like, but if you want to be able to enhance their experience and add optional extras, you also need to be asking about the special occasions, perhaps, they wish to celebrate. Now, all these things can be said to be a number of things. And sometimes people refer to it as predictive service. But I think the real magic is asking the right questions. I hope that makes sense, because clients are often, they are the best source of information. So let's next talk about roadmaps. So we've talked about relationships, but roadmaps are more than this. They are about identifying the niche you wish to operate in, your target market, planning, marketing, finance, compliance. It's about having a system to avoid potholes. We don't like driving over them, so why should we accept them anywhere else? And why do we need a roadmap? Well, it's not missing steps. The steps that you need to have a successful travel consultancy. And not having them is a bit like having a jigsaw with some of the pieces missing. And you risk either not having the whole picture, or the whole thing can fall apart. Anybody here like jigsaws? Well, the point is, it's another way of putting it, it's having all the right elements and about going deeper when you need to. Now, some things I get told are, well, there's just too much noise and information out there on the internet, and it can affect your confidence. Now, perhaps the thing to do is to focus just on one area and the outcomes that you're looking for. But this is not the only role that travel consultants play. When I was recently, a few years ago, on a trip to Australia, I had the pleasure of going on a trip out to a desert. And once there, you really can appreciate the beauty and the isolation of it, but you aren't necessarily aware of what it took to make such journeys happen, the products and services that you need to plug into. I remember turning around and looking back at the coach that had taken us there, and I saw this very long pipe outside of the coach. There was an aerial, there was a satellite dish, and there was enough food and water in the back of the coach to sustain 50 people for days on end. Now, it's not about scaring the punters, but it is about being mindful about what it takes to send people away on journeys. Now, this isn't the only thing to be mindful about. We can often spend so much time looking after clients that we can forget about ourselves, because we're just as important as the people we look after. You deserve a roadmap as well as the next person. When I was helping a lady called Joyce, she just expanded her travel business to a second physical shop. And she was basically fixated on the way it was being run. Essentially, she micromanaged it. And she was wondering why she wasn't able to keep any of her staff. So when we worked together, we worked on a thing I call trust and process, because part of the of the experience of having staff of your own is letting go a bit and let them bring their own perspective, broader perspectives on the way your business run by other people in your business is really important. And if you think of it this way, if you trust someone enough to employ them or hire them, you should be able to trust them enough to bring a broader outlook to your business. And in this way, it brought Joyce and her staff greater experiences, and in some cases, new experiences. Another occasion where I saw this in play was a friend of mine who's a pilot in the southern state of Victoria in Australia. A pilot friend of his approached him and said, "Oh, I've just come back from a remote airport that had a really great coffee shop." So they said, "Oh, that's amazing." So they arranged for 6 friends and 3 planes, and off they went. They filed their flight plans and they went off to this remote airport. But when they got there, the coffee shop was closed. Now, you can't make up these things. You know, the pilots were so organized. You know, and you expect pilots to be organized and file their flight plans, but nobody thought to check whether the coffee shop was actually open. So there they were, standing on this remote tarmac, and someone turned around and said, "Isn't that the highest peak in Victoria? It's only 6,000 feet up." So they said, "Yeah, let's go and do it." And they did, and they had an amazing time. And there are many peaks in the north of Victoria. But the thing was, if they hadn't been willing to accept a new experience, or if the coffee shop had been open, they'd never have done it. And whilst you might expect pilots to be open to new experiences and situations, new experiences are what can make trips and vacations and holidays. It's just as relevant as someone running a travel shop. So we've looked at the importance of structure and a well-defined roadmap. Next, next we need to discuss the vital pillar of support. Now, support can be both exciting and challenging, provided it is the right kind of support. Now, support is more than just getting people unstuck. It's plugging into a network of individuals that can help you navigate uncharted waters, who can provide you mentorship and guidance. Because without this, it can leave gaps in your knowledge and challenges, which could lead to missed opportunities. Now, it's worth remembering that throughout a support journey, it's not meant to be solitary, because support is there to provide you with the assistance you need in ways so that you can grow and navigate towards opportunities. So next, we're going to go a bit deeper and a bit more specific on how you can transform your business ambitions. Now, when I worked with Jason, we were working, he was telling me rather that he had travelers that weren't being listened to. And this harks back to what I was saying earlier about lockdowns, about how businesses were forced to adjust and they retreated online. So I worked together with Jason on what I call the power of listening. And essentially, it's just being willing to ask a question and shut up. Because what most of your clients are is that they're generally smart individuals. They are willing to organize journeys themselves, but they're also a great source of information. Well, the thing that you can do for them the most is to give them their time back, because you can say that customers are in, they have many different situations. The best ones, as far as you're concerned, are the ones who regard themselves as time-poor individuals. But there are also, you come across people who just don't know how to put travel plans together. And there are those that lack a great deal of confidence. But provided you provide a good service, eventually you'll get even the shortest ones that they used to do themselves, because time is something you cannot get back. So let's summarize this section by just highlighting the fact that visibility really is quite important, because customers are feeling a lack of this connection and they really want it. And because the way we express ourselves is so unique, this is the thing that customers really love and what they're looking for. Now, at the end of this session, I'm going to be offering you the chance to have a chat to me. And the opportunity I'll be offering at the end is just about being open to change. It's about talking through a process and how you can work with me and get any questions you have answered. It's also about willing to stop everything else and committing to one thing and trusting a process. Now, here's a question. Are you achieving all the travel outcomes you want to achieve? Because if you're not, you need to book a call. Do you want to know what my trade secret is? If you want to know the answer to either of these questions, then either follow the web link below or hover your phones over the QR code. I've got a few calls open today, just the 10, because I don't take on many people at a time. So you will be most welcome to chat with me. So let's look at the next part, which is about how you might optimize the travel business. And what do we mean by this? Well, optimizing generally falls into two categories: adjusting and refining. Adjusting might be described as achieving your optimal potential, or putting it another way, it's strategically adjusting. And one area I find ineffective is what I call personal visibility, because the consequences of not being visible is not being able to engage with your customers, not being able to establish trust or authority, missing chances to create or grow your brand. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, well, isn't it a crowded market? Well, maybe it's because you need to be a bit more specific. Instead, why not think of specificity and visibility? Because when you take these things together, they are like holding a bunch of keys. When you have them and use them, it's like a passport to another world. Now, I used to think that window shopping was a made-up thing. So I determined to go and find out what it really means. So I went to my local high street and I picked a shop that had products and services I was reasonably interested, and in I went and I joined a queue and I turned around and had a look at people passing by, and pretty soon people were looking through the window. Now there's a psychology to this, because if people are prepared to put their noses up against the window, they've already made a sort of mental decision about the product or services on offer. Now they want to know is if they will like buying that said service from you, because they want to know if they like you. And this is, this is a really interesting thing. And visibility is, of course, a mixture of a number of elements. But the most important element I'll draw your attention to is getting people to make decisions. No one wants to be surrounded by people who can't make up their mind. So it's really important to get people into that frame of mind where they make a decision, yes or no. Really important. Now, the second element of visibility is the content that you produce. Now, obviously, when you're producing content, you don't want to be vague or confusing, but let's also bust some myths here. You don't want to be the same as everyone else. You don't want to go around trying to match everyone else. And like visibility, therefore, content is a number of elements that you need to bring out. And not surprisingly, the last important element is also about getting potential clients to make decisions. Now, when I was working with a lady called Chloe, she'd been sending clients to the lovely city of Bristol in the southwest of England, a place and a city of rolling hills and a famous bridge by Isambard Kingdom Brunel. But the problems didn't begin until the clients came back on their return journey. They came back by train, and everything that could go wrong did go wrong. People invaded the railway tracks. When the train arrived at the city of Exeter, the train broke down. When the local staff tried to bring on spare trains, all their air conditioning systems were failing because on this particular day, it was a really hot day. So I worked together with Chloe on what I call adapting and preparing. In other words, how might she react to change for future journeys? Because adapting might look like getting your clients to wait for an hour for another service. It could also be about setting proper expectations, to have that ability to stand back and allow other people to lose their heads instead of you. Setting expectations might be having pre-knowledge on the railway provider, knowing that they perhaps have a track record of trains breaking down in adverse weather conditions. Because what your clients want to hear when they contact you about these physical events is they want to hear a calm voice at the other end of the phone. So that is, really important. So let's move on to the next session, which is next section, which is refining. So what do we mean by refining? Well, it's the smaller parts, all right? So to give you an example of this, I went to a local regional airport in the southwest of England. It has an annual turnover of about 10 million passengers. There are roughly 12 airlines that serve the airport, but one airline in particular is the dominant airline. And on the day that I went there, I arrived at this bright and shiny departure building, and already there was tension in the air. I could hear the sounds of luggage trolleys bouncing into one another, the raising of voices. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, by the time these people get to the front of the queue, they're going to need a second trip to get over the first trip they haven't gone on yet. So how might have they done this a little differently? Well, perhaps they could have shown up a little bit earlier when the queues were lighter. Perhaps the airline they were traveling with offered online check-in, so all they needed to do was to drop off their luggage in a separate location to the normal queue. But if you have knowledge of some of the short-haul, low-cost airlines that I've come into connection with, you'll realize that you're lucky to get a seat, right? Let alone any other kind of service. So what else could you offer clients who are not great on queuing? Well, you might offer them another option at another airport, for instance. And even if it was an hour or two away, it'd be worth it, because if you're going somewhere for business, you want to arrive ready, ready to do business. If you're going on holiday or a vacation, you want to arrive in a relaxed and calm state, ready to enjoy the location or country that you're traveling to. So it's really important to have and to gain some knowledge about your clients so that you have, you can predict what their needs may be. And there is a saying that change is inevitable, but how we react to change is optional. Now, I had some experience of this when I went to a city called Letchworth. Letchworth Garden City is about an hour north of London. I've been to see some friends, and I wasn't that concerned about how long it would take to go back to the West Country. I just assumed that I wouldn't make my connection at Letchworth. I assumed that there would be delays crossing London, that I wouldn't be at Paddington to get my connection. But what actually happened was not what I was prepared for. I showed up at Letchworth and my train was waiting for me. I got on, it left. When I arrived at a place called Farringdon, the doors opened directly opposite the Elizabeth line escalators. I went down them and my next train was waiting. When I arrived at the now refurbished Paddington, at least the part where the Elizabeth line arrives, it's a big and enormous, light and airy place. And the way you enter through the station is adjacent to platform 1. Well, my next train was there waiting for me, and it just kept happening all the way through. Now, you tend to remember these because they're so infrequent. And that's because in the main, the majority of the time, I would suggest, is that change is inevitable. So how you think about journeys is quite an important aspect here. So I hope that makes sense. So clearly, you'd like to be in front of your ideal audience. So what do we mean by showing off? Well, essentially, it's about showing your prospective clients how good you are. Now, you might be wondering, well, how good do I need to show them? Well, only enough, right? Because you only need to show them to the right degree that gives them enough confidence that you know everything about the thing that you spend the majority of your time on. And it's essentially about being effective. And this is why the myth of believing that you need to know everything about a very wide range of subjects is actually counterproductive, because it spreads your knowledge extremely thinly. So by showing your prospects that you really know your thing about the thing that you concentrate on the most and hopefully love the most is really being more effective, because in the majority of cases I've found when it's being used is that people will believe that if you're as good on this subject, you'll be good on others too. So effectiveness is more important than attempting a breadth of knowledge. When it comes to technology, we're all used to using companies like Apple and Amazon, and we tend to like them, don't we? Because they're generally quick, they're responsive, and they have versions of their experience on mobile devices. Now, it needs to be a similar experience when you're selling travel, because the amount of time you can keep people on the technology you use increases the chances of them buying the experiences that you have on offer. It's really quite important. And if, for example, you were selling champagne, then clearly you'd want to show people enjoying and drinking champagne in pictures and usually videos as well, I would imagine. So it's all about a collection of moments. So by the time it's your turn to drink champagne, you're ready to have that first sip. Not that I'm suggesting I like champagne. So let's summarize this section by just highlighting the importance of a few things. Visibility, incredibly important. Focusing on what matters. You certainly do need to simplify your messaging. Clearly, you want to be where your ideal customers are and to focus on the travel niche that means the most to you, and giving your clients a great experience and a great online experience is part of this. So how might a travel consultant journey, how might it be like? Well, there's always been travelers. And ever since the smaller version of myself went to this place called London Airport many years ago, and where I'm standing here, it used to be known as the Queen's Building. And the area below where I'm looking, not only did it have a tuck shop, but the most important aspect it had was loudspeakers blaring out the conversations between the pilots and the air traffic controllers. And at this time, there was a complete 360-degree view of the entire airfield, and it was non-stop excitement. And the thing about going on journeys is, whilst they have beginnings and endings, journeys have this thing, don't they? That they help you make decisions about all kinds of things, where to go, where not to go. And it's, you know, incredibly powerful what journeys do to you, and it forms, you know, your character throughout your lives. Now, when I went to this particular airport in a place called Dubrovnik in the former Yugoslavia, this is an example of how departure gates used to look like. You could just wander off the street right up to the edge of the tarmac. And when it was time to depart, an official would wander up, check your tickets, and you'd be allowed to walk towards the aircraft. This particular aircraft had built-in stairs at their rear. And if there was a bit of a queue, by the time you got onto these built-in stairs, they had this habit of bouncing up and down. So you really wanted to get on if you were on these stairs for any length of time. Now, the eagle-eyed amongst you would have noticed a bicycle in front of the steps. Well, it's actually a set of fire retardant equipment. It always amuses me when I look at this, because I often wonder what the the advert for this job would have been. You know, only fit people need apply. Anyway, hopefully the fire department has much improved at Dubrovnik since the early 1970s. And the journeys we go on really are as unique as we are. When I was spending time as a youngster with my grandfather, he was, well, in his younger days, he was in the Navy and a submariner, and he traveled the world in the first half of the 20th century, at a time when hardly anybody went traveling. You know, not just outside of his country, but often outside the towns and villages in which people grew up. I remember standing up and telling my grandfather that, you know, I was the captain and maybe he should scrub the decks. And he would obviously just sit at the end there and chuckle away. Now, sadly, I never got to know him as an adult, and I'd love to have known what journeys he was thinking about. And the thing about these journeys is we're much more in control of them than we think, like we discussed earlier. It's how we think about our journeys that matters, and it really does set us apart when it comes to organising journeys and destinations. Now, hopefully, KLM are now using more up-to-date aircraft than this. I actually saw an aircraft like this a few years ago in a museum, and I was quite shocked because I hadn't seen one for ages, and they looked incredibly fragile, like they'd just been knocked together in a garage the night before, which makes you wonder what it was they needed to replace. Now, I'm not here today to make you like me. It's to tell you the truth, and I hope that's okay, because I come across a lot of people who are frankly wasting their time, but nevertheless, they're putting in massive amount of effort without getting the results they want. And I think it's, it's tragic to work hard and not get what you want. And one thing that people talk to me about needing is a proper roadmap. Now, in my experience, there are two kinds of people that come into my academy. There's the experienced people who just need a compass and a sense of direction. And there are people who need everything. Now, the reality of the situation is that most people are somewhere in between. But it doesn't mean that you can miss out any of the steps. And I have a start to the academy, but I don't have an end. I have outcomes. And you would not be surprised to know that outcomes is the first thing I talk to everybody about. Because without outcomes, it's difficult to get where you want to go. And it's about filling gaps, not going for trip-only customers, only using a few tools, and, not assuming that technology is going to do everything. Perhaps not understanding everything about the travel market, trying to be the master of everything. And how do we get over those problems? Oh, and one other thing I find that comes up a lot is not being able to identify what works and what doesn't work, because measuring is an important part of development, because how do you know if you're succeeding or not succeeding? So there is a plan with lots of steps that you follow, and that's how you fill the gaps in your knowledge. Now, the other thing I offer is access to a community. Now, a community is more than just getting knowledge from other people. It's also sharing perspective with other people that you meet. Now, even if those people are working in a similar area to yourselves, their perspective will appeal to different sets of customers to yourself. And this is an important distinction to know about. And it's also being able to plug into a bank of knowledge. And community is a great way to both obtain and to share knowledge. Now, later on in any travel consultant journeys, you want the business to grow. And there are two ways of growing normally. You need more people or you want more customers. And typically you would either hire freelancers or perhaps you go straight to employing people. Now, I'm looking into a system where we could offer your business, when it's ready to take advantage of it, into a bank of specialists that can help you support your business when you need it. Because the thing is, we all need to eat, we all need to sleep, and your customers might be on the other side of the world. So having a team of specialists that can help at times when you're occupied elsewhere could be a useful option for you going forward. So this journey, it's about being shown how to do this properly. It's about enhancing what you do from the very first time you join. It is about learning knowledge as you go. It really is talking about how to turn your prospects into best friends. Because if you're willing to follow steps, you can earn good money in 6 to 9 months. But in order to get there, we need to build out a process. And this involves building relationships, using all the tools you need. It's about bringing out the human touch when it comes to delivering great experiences. And obviously, you want to be able to craft experiences that your customers are asking for, but at the same time, using a manageable strategy. And when you add it all up, what you can get is the ability to be able to craft journeys, to adapt to all situations, to be able to prepare for anything, to be a very responsive person, and ultimately to deliver the value that your customers are looking for. Now, generating a consistent flow of clients doesn't mean having to be the master of all. You just need a process and a plan to generate these things consistently. Now, I know how passionate you are, and you deserve to get good results. And this is why I'm offering this opportunity today. So if you'd like me to personally help you generate consistent flow of customers, now is the time to be considering it, because I've built a roadmap which utilizes the power of listening, will improve your visibility significantly, will get you to focus on what matters to you the most, to bring out your uniqueness, because this is what your ideal clients are looking for. And to implement it, you need a roadmap. And the roadmap includes following steps. It involves giving and receiving feedback. It means taking a full part in a community. And later on, if you need it, to plug into a team of specialists as your business grows. So what do you get inside this academy? Well, you get 12 months access. You get all the feedback you need. You get all the access you need to all the resources. You get accountability, because we all need a bit of a push. You get weekly calls with myself. You get access to the community, and down the road, if you need it, access to a team of support specialists, or for a monthly contribution. And it's only available online. And like I said earlier, I've just got the 10 slots open because I don't take on many new clients. But if you want to see if it's for you, then just follow the web address or the QR code below. So just a reminder of what's in the package. It's 12 months access. It's all the feedback you need. It's the resources. It's the accountability. It's weekly calls. It's taking part in this community, and the possibility of plugging into specialists down the road. Now, because I realize just how important it is to establish what your outcome is, for the first 5 people that actually join the academy, I'm prepared to offer the first 5 an opportunity to have a specific one-to-one clarity call with me, because this is such an important part of the journey, is to be so super clear on what the outcomes you want are. So if you want that, you'll need to make sure you're one of the first 5. So earlier on, I dropped a hint about learning about my trade secret. Well, I've only got one condition about my trade secret, and that is that whatever it is you learn, you apply it on the very days that you learn it. Because the thing about today is it's no longer enough to know something. It's no longer enough to own knowledge. You have to apply it in the modern world. And why am I willing to do it? Well, I want you to succeed. And I hope I hope you think that's a good deal. And if you want to take advantage of it, then either follow the link or follow the QR code. So I very much appreciate your time with me today. Do you have any questions? Now, whilst you're thinking about what questions you have to ask me, I'd just like to pull out a few questions that arrived in my inbox in the last few days. Now, somebody was asking me, well, what is the bottom line regarding this academy? Well, it's 3 things. Number 1, it's getting super clear about your outcomes. 2, it's about gaining enough confidence and being comfortable enough, being visible to the level that you won't be worrying about what your outcomes are. And the third area is about getting clients, as many as you need. Now, what I'm saying here is need, because we all want more clients, right? And what you'll find is that need is more important than want, because the better you get at this, the less clients you'll actually need. That's the irony of this business. So you found me through the social media platform of LinkedIn, and it really is a very powerful tool. And I've been asked about, why is it such a powerful tool? Well, of the 8 billion people who live on our planet, 6 billion use the internet, and almost 1/6 of those are using LinkedIn. And it allows you to have real conversations with people. Now, why are people not doing what I'm offering already? Well, the simple fact is that whilst opportunity can be incredibly straightforward, what people don't often do is, they don't put in what's required. That's the bottom line here. People don't put in the required effort and the time. It's very difficult to succeed. So those were a few questions I had in my inbox. Do you have any for me now? Please let me know in the comments now. If you don't, that's not a problem. What are you doing for Christmas? My goodness, doesn't it come by really quickly? And so I'd like to finish by saying amazing thank you for being with me today. And if I don't see you before, have a lovely Christmas and a wonderful New Year. Thank you very much. I will stay on a few more minutes if you want to ask me a question. I will stop sharing. You're welcome. Pleasure to be on today. Okay, looks like there aren't any questions. So like I say, have an amazing Christmas and a brilliant New Year, and see you next time.